Howdy, and welcome to the first DirtInfo podcast. Uh, we're going to go ahead and talk about some modified racing predominantly, and then also mix in things about ourselves, our experiences, our backgrounds, that kind of thing. It's going to be me. My name's Josh. I live here in Minnesota. I primarily go to WISSOTA tracks. I consider Ogilvy my home track, but being where I'm at, I also catch a lot of touring series in Wisconsin and southern Minnesota and the like. So that's a little bit about me. This gentleman below here is my good friend Julian, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself.
Yeah, I'm Julian, originally from Pennsylvania, so I frequented a lot of tracks in Western Pennsylvania, the Ohio region. I kind of moved around a lot since then, kind of in a transition period living down here in Mississippi. So I don't have a ton of tracks that everyone else does, but I go to places like Hattiesburg, Deep South Speedway, where they run IMC modifieds, things like that, and then also asphalt tracks, Pensacola and Mobile. But I guess I consider myself a little bit of a race and track chaser too. So I get around a bunch of different states. But Carter up there, he's been here a lot, and I'll tell you about that too.
Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin. I mainly frequent IMCA tracks, so that's like 141, Outagamie Speedway, and then we got Luxie Raceway, which is a minute away from my house. But I'll also travel around Iowa, Minnesota, Illinois. Um, but yeah, mainly stay in Wisconsin and then travel when there's nothing else going on around here. Um, so Josh, you want to talk about first of all, you went to the Wasota banquet this past weekend. Is that your first time going there?
Yeah, to be clear, I didn't go to the banquet. Went to the expo. Same day, no big deal.
Not a true
But yeah,
Wasota fan.
no, that costs money. No,
No.
I got no reason to be there. Let's be honest. I'd be a fish out of water. But yeah, I went to the expo. It was my first time there. With nothing going on and racing basically being over here. I figured that was my last chance to get a fix. So headed up there. It was about an hour from where I'm located up in St. Cloud. Went to the expo center, got in easy peasy. Took a little bit of a cheesy picture on the way in. Posted that on the on the Dirt Info Facebook. But um, yeah, wore my Luxie stuff. Had to represent Luxembourg being there. They talked about maybe some heat race format changes, and so having experienced the format at Luxie, I think I know what they're doing. So that was
Is
my
it
little hat
just
tip to that.
is
But
it just draw redraw straight like for
uh,
heats?
I haven't heard anything yet. If it came out and I missed it, that's possible. But I think that's what the little birdies are saying. So um, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and since
So.
you mentioned, it's end of the racing season really up there in Minnesota. And nothing else to do. How many people do you think were there? I mean, between racers and fans generally. I mean,
I mean, I'm gonna be real with you, not nearly as many as I expected. Um, there was maybe a handful of people that were fans that were there when I was there, maybe. Um, it seemed to be mostly just people who had a reason to be there. And I actually figured with the banquet being that night, there might be a few more people on hand, but like the booths were they definitely could have accommodated more booths. But I think they're giving it a shot and they're trying to get people there. I really did enjoy like having the cars out. Like so they had every class's national champion car was there. Um, and they were all done up nice. Like Polchanowski's was there with his dome wrap, so that was kind of cool. It was like a way to reveal his dome
Oh,
wrap.
I saw
Um,
that. I thought you leaked it at first, but then I saw he had it on Facebook and stuff. I thought it was like I don't know. I guess it was in public, but I thought he were like posted it for his own page posted.
what had happened? Something breaking news. No, yeah, yeah. I had noticed he had posted the day before, so that was cool. But it was nice to see it in person. Um, so those were cool. Some of them like some of the drivers are actually out by the car. So like I had a brief chat with Dexton Cook. He was out by his Superstock National Championship car. And then I had a actually pretty lengthy conversation with I believe it was Justin Schlitzky, the Hornet champion of all things. So he was a great guy. Like that was actually kind of cool. I was like over there taking pictures for the Facebook and um just kind of checking out all his trophies. And he had a whole thing done up. He had all of his trophies. He had belt buckles from Big Show he had won earlier in the year. And
I saw he
um
had all the winner stickers, like, 'cause you get a sticker when you win a feature. And I saw he had all of them, like, on like the side or like it was like on the window of the car. I think I saw in the picture. He like all like
yeah,
the little stickers there.
yeah, I think he runs them in the back. The story he had told me was like the one that was completely full, that was combo platter from last year and this year.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the one partially filled was just the the runoff from this year. But in chatting with him, I think he said 18 this year and 18 wins this year, I believe is what he said. 17 or 18. Um and we had talked a little bit about like what it means to run for national points and kind of how that looks for him and how many nights a week and stuff he's running. Um, and they take the top 20. So if he's winning 18 races a year, he's doing pretty good for himself. Like Dexton won 28 races. They take his top 20 and he won 28. He had 8 to spare. So
There
uh
was, I mean, there was a lot of, a lot of intrigue with the WISSOTA national points. I mean, Chernovsky, I believe his rookie year, right?
Yeah, he
mhm.
And he
ran
won in
he ran
modifieds
mods a little bit last year, but
full
I
first full season.
but the first like full season. So I think there's some like threshold of like you can run this many mod races the year before and still be considered a rookie because he was rookie of the year too this year and national
Yeah,
champion.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
that's
that has to be a
crazy.
pretty rare feat. And I mean, he was, you just look at kind of his schedule. He was, running up Ontario, what is it, Wednesdays or Thursdays, hometown, and, you know,
Thunder
fairly
Bay, I
strong
think
field
it's
and running down into Minnesota and things like that. And then I know the WISSOTA Mod 4 champion, Larson, I believe.
Dean
It was
Larson.
his first, yeah, Dean Larson, yeah. It was his first championship. And, he was outrunning Minnesota, Montana, Wyoming, I think, maybe even Idaho or something like that. So, I mean,
So
he
he
was
was at
kind of this
in the
champion.
Dakotas too, I'm pretty sure. He was everywhere.
Yeah,
Did
so
they
some of those guys really tell.
did they have like booths at the thing like to like buy stuff or was it just like showcasing like stuff for next year at the
Yeah, so they had a couple vendors up. So like Dirt Race Central was there. Um Outlaw Graphics. I think it's Outlaw Graphics was there. They had a booth set up. WISSOTA had some stuff set up with like their WISSOTA 100 stuff. Um, the Justin Slutsky, he had his merch all there. So like, I mean, he was ready to move some stuff. That dude was pressed, just like how how good of a foot he put forward, kind of to represent his national championship season. I'm getting a little bit on a tangent, but like just worth
Well,
mentioning again. Like
I
he
was
really
going to
took it
ask
for
you.
serious. He put up merch and like Dexton had merch up too, and he was up by his car. So like, I mean, Dexton had free cookies from his wife Amanda. Like they're awesome. Like those are awesome cookies as is. And so, like there's definitely some stuff. There wasn't a ton, and like when you walk in, they have it set up, and so you go down one strip, and in the back, there was definitely like, I don't know, I want to say like 33% of the space left to fill. I mean, they were trying to give spots away, not is no knock on them for trying, right? Like they were basically saying, come, if you're a vendor, come set up stuff. So like, um, I don't know. I feel like I have to defend him a little bit, but like honestly, like my legitimate review is like I managed to fill time by taking pictures and talking to the few people that were there and making good conversations out of it. But honestly, there wasn't a ton to do. I thought it was cool that like Kyle Hall was there interviewing racers and stuff right up front. Like before I even walked in, I heard the guy. Um, and been a guest on his podcast. So he was working hard, didn't get a chance to see him, but if I'd have been paying attention, I'm bummed I missed a chance to kind of make a fool of myself. He was interviewing Dan Ebert, and underneath the Luxy hoodie, I had my Ebert shirt on, so I could have been like, ah!
I mean, I know most of the people listening are probably not going to know you like I know you, but this sounds just like a regular trip to a track for you. I mean, you had food to try with the cookies, you had merch to
Yeah,
buy, you always love to buy
mhm,
merch, and you're
yeah.
always talking to people in the pits. So, I mean, was this like, I don't even know if you actually watch any of the racing when you go to
I
races. So, I mean, like, what was the difference?
I watched. Well, there just wasn't any racing. That was really the only difference. I watched the majority of the race. I'm
I
not
mean,
gonna
like, how many
pretend
races
like
have
I
you
sit there
been
like you
to
guys
this year? I mean, you could just
glued
add
to
this
the
to your
seat, but
list. I
did
mean,
they
so
light
that's
off
another one for your
did,
list.
did they light off fireworks in the building?
they didn't. But I
maybe at the
actually, I should probably tell Kyle that that needs to be added. They would have more people there. At minimum, I think more people would be there for the fireworks. So
at
you
least you
guys
could.
might leave, but others would show up.
I mean, there's cookies, fireworks, food. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. So no, but I did actually, I did talk to one vendor, Dirt Rate Central, who someone here is a little more familiar with than the rest of us. Um, but I talked to a gal by the name of Haley. She very much knew Carter. Um, big fan. Lots of positive things to say. Um, at one point, she actually was curious how single you were. I let her know very, um, but it wasn't for her. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
I know her husband, and
Yes. No, she just said you were a nice boy and you would be a good boyfriend. More or less the takeaway I got out of that to embarrass you a little bit. But other than that, her and I both bragged about your detail oriented nature and how reliable you are. So it was pretty cool. I bought these hats for the two of you. This is the street stock tour, the WISSOTA street stock tour. I've got one in black. I've got one in blue. And I was figuring I would let you guys decide who gets what.
I don't have a black hat.
I have a blue hat, but I'll take the blue hat.
Perfect.
I think
And
actually
then as
almost all my hats like around me right now are black hats, so
Yeah, you
we'll
need
go
more blue ones.
you need a pop of color.
like
So the blue will
my
be
Lucas
perfect.
Wolf hat that I'm wearing right now, and
And
then
then there were goodies though. To be fair, like David Simpson, the Midwest Mod national champion, had um so he races out of Thunder City Speedway. So he had lanyards. The Speedway had lanyards and then he had some stickers. So I actually picked up two. These are going to you boys as well. So that's going to be
Appreciate
in the
it.
care package as well.
more people
So
should know about Thunder City Speedway. If you don't, that's the track that I was talking about. Cool Chernosky runs on weekdays. They Midwest Modifieds, I think they, if you look at my race pass, I think they get like 40, 45 cars like weekly.
Yeah,
And
I
some
mean,
of the guys
it's
on there never even make a race all season. That has to be one of the toughest fields in the country. So I mean, to run there and win, and then also win a national championship, that's pretty crazy.
and
yeah,
I heard on another podcast, so shout out to the One to Go show. They were mentioning the track, and I guess they get like thousands of fans for like weekly shows. That's what I heard from them, and like I guess the racing culture up there is like how it was like in the 90s, like in the US. Like they still go weekly, and this is a Wednesday weekday shows, you know, which is tough for fans, and they get tons of cars, tons of fans supposedly. And it feels like, and I think, did they just start racing like a few years ago? Like they might have opened back up or something. I feel like somewhat recently. I could be wrong on that, but I've seen video from there,
yeah,
and it looks like a nice facility too, like really nice facility. And they got it going on up there. They're doing something right that we're not doing down here. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, they had two national champions,
yeah,
right?
two of
Two
them.
WISSOTA national champions running up there. So, I mean,
And
they're
a lot
definitely
of
doing
more
something
guys
right.
that run in the top five, even in points, I think that run up there too, weekly. I mean, I know Carter, and sometimes I sometimes play the My Race Pass fantasy game on there, and so we're always. I mean, it's a tough field to even do anything on there. There's so many good cars. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. And I mean, obviously, some of those guys, I mean, to win national championships, they must be, you heading down here and then racing on top of that. So like,
Yeah, they'll
that is
come down
actually,
here pretty much every weekend. Like Chernovsky and Simpson will come down here. It feels like every weekend to run.
yeah,
Um, do you have anything else from the WISSOTA Expo? Is that what you're calling it?
yeah. So I just went to the expo. Um, I don't know. No, I think that's mostly it. Like we covered most of all of it. It was actually a fun time. I'll leave it with this. It was a fun time. It's what I expected. And hopefully, with what they were doing, it looks like they were pumping out a bunch of content and stuff from there too. So hopefully, with what they're doing, they'll be able to keep growing it because I think um it could be a cool thing.
All right, Julian, you want to mention a little bit about the big block portion of the World Finals because they do classify as a modified, so I guess
yeah,
they're worth a mention.
I I mean, being from the Northeast, I love big blocks. No one else on here loves big blocks the way I love big blocks, even though Josh owns a Ronnie Davis third shirt.
That's fair.
So
I do watch them occasionally.
I
So
I love big blocks, so I'm all over it. So I mean, I was all over, the title race going into Charlotte between, Matt Shepard going for his 11th championship, and you have Williamson going for his second. And what shocked, I didn't realize this. I'm always looking at big block stats, but going into Charlotte, did you think that Matt Shepard would have only had one win in Super Dirt
no,
Car Series racing all year?
absolutely not. I saw that and I was like, that's crazy. Like I mean, he won everything under the sun last year. Like
I mean,
you would
he
have
had
never thought.
overall. I mean, you look at and then shout out to Race Stats Central. They have Northeast Modfacts .com is I believe the site address. They have all big block and 358 modified stats on there. I think Shepard has 30-ish big block wins this year, but only one on the STS tour.
That's
And
crazy.
that's, I mean, he won, STSS title, Fonda Championship, and then, but the big telling thing was, I mean, Shepard had a great season. I mean, not knocking on Shepard, it's crazy, that somebody could somehow edge him out and be better than that. But Matt Williamson went to run Land of Legends and Canandaigua weekly to run more big block stuff, and Shepard was there as well, and Williamson won the track championship there, and he also won the track championship in 358s on Friday at Ransomville. But going into Charlotte, he was trailing, I believe it was like 24 to 26 points, something like that. And
Williamson was, right?
yeah, Williamson was trailing.
Yeah.
And then you go into the first
And
night,
I mean, he had a fistful of wins too, so that just kind of, I
yeah, I think
mean,
8 wins.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then
So
Friday, I was it Thursday night, the first prelim night, Shepard immediately goes out with some sort of engine problem after he changed engines that morning. And there was I believe Hannah Newhouse was talking about how they had to change the engine with like back a truck up and get the engine out and all this stuff they went through. And then they have an engine problem or failure or something.
yeah,
And
proceed to
then,
lose it pretty early in
Tim
the
Fuller
feature
wins the
too.
race, massive swinging points. Williamson's ahead now, and now Shepard's playing catch up. Going to Friday night, Williamson wins the feature, and then I
Yeah.
mean, it's a massive uphill battle on Saturday. And Williamson, I mean, in the post race, he said, I think one of the nights he felt like he was going to puke going out in the car. He was so nervous, but he held on. Anthony Perego actually got the win on Saturday night. I think it's his third Super Dirt Car Series win, and he's actually Matt Shepard's really good friend. So that's kind of a funny story there. But Williamson holds on, gets his second SDS title, and so I mean, it is a huge year battle between the Titans. I mean, Stuart Friesen obviously has his NASCAR obligations, but you have,
Yeah. I
he
mean,
was up there winning
he ran
everything.
more this year than
Yeah,
last, it felt like, and he definitely won more than last this year as well. So,
yeah, and I think
um,
they almost evenly split all the big races. Really, Williamson, Shepard, and Friesen. So that was, I mean, that was just a really fun battle that I enjoyed following. I mean, these guys that don't really follow big blocks like I do, so they're following. I love the WISSOTA, USRA, IMCA stuff, but the big blocks are really fun to follow too. So
yeah. Well, we begrudgingly let you shoehorn big block modified in under the guise that they had modifieds in the name. So,
And speaking of, I know they're going to kill me for this because they don't like asphalt either, but shout out to Matt Hirschman who won the North South Shootout at Caraway on I think it was Saturday too. So there's another one, and then yeah, so you guys are
All
going to
right.
kill me now. But I mean, we have some
you're
races
hoping
to talk
we
about
ask
this
you back
weekend, so
now,
we'll move
right?
on from
Like,
big blocks. But I believe we have a couple big modified races going on this weekend that we wanted to talk about. The first one is Springfield. They have I believe it's an IMCA
No,
sanctioned race.
it's
Not
open.
open.
It's open. Yep.
Open.
open. Yep, it will
Okay.
run your sanction. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess you could get some IMCA cars, but it's primarily like open mods that'll probably show up if I had to guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, that I believe pays 60-64 to win.
Mhm.
And last year they ended up with about 58 modifieds. Last year, Tom Berry Jr. picked up the win over Dylan Thornton and Terry Phillips. So you get a lot of quality cars there. Um, Carter, what do you think going into like this year? I mean, some drivers that might show up. Yeah, Terry Phillips, obviously, again, being from Missouri, but Kenny Schrader, Chase Holland's going to venture up there. He's always all over the place running things. So
Before you answer, real quick, before you answer, I just will note, TBJ, I think, said on Facebook that he's not actually going to be there to defend. So, just a note that he won't be back defending his title. But, um,
so admittedly, I do not know many of the people going there besides the ones you just said. After my quick search on Facebook, but I'm assuming if they got 58 last year, they'll probably get a good field, probably what 50 or something. And I'm sure there'll be some more bigger names that we just haven't seen that'll go there. Um, but I mean, if Phillips ran third there last year, I guess as of now he'd be my favorite. Especially if TBJ and Thornton aren't going to be there. So there's two guys. The two guys that beat him last year probably won't be there anymore. So I
I
mean,
mean, by default, that means he's going to
by
win,
default, he's probably going to win.
right?
But
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
sure you'll get some USMTS guys that'll show up that are like in that area. So he'll have some
yeah, I
competition.
mean,
We just don't know who yet.
maybe even like a Tyler Wolf or something like that might show up. Being from the area. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Maybe like a John Mitchell or something like that. Any kind of like the Arkansas area, Missouri, kind of eastern Kansas. I mean, there's a lot of good drivers out that way, but you don't really hear about very often.
And
But
you
then you
could get
also have
some.
this.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No,
You
you go
you
ahead,
could
Trevor.
get some travelers too. Like well, I guess Chase Holland is one of them already,
Yeah,
and
Chase Holland's going to
some
be there.
Texas guys maybe. I don't know if there's anything going on down there this weekend. If and they might some of them might make the trip up north and run it. And UMP guys too. UMP guys can run it too if they want. And Missouri's
Yeah, I
not.
mean, it looks like I was gonna say it looks like a good. I mean, I don't know. Looking at some of the pre-entries, I mean, they got about 28. I think it looks like. Admittedly, they all seem local to the area, but I would assume they got to be some UMP guys. I think I saw the Grosses on there. If you know, memory serves, I think they run UMP stuff. So, like Gary Gross and Haley Gross, I think will be there. And Holland, I think, has a USRA car and
Uh,
or
he might
a
have
UMP
Maybe
both.
car.
He has UMP for sure because he ran
Yeah.
Charlotte a couple weeks ago, and that was all UMP. So
I believe Holland at least was getting rid of the USRA car.
Okay.
I don't think being down here in Mississippi and they don't really have many options to run it unless they go to somewhere like Boot Hill or something like
Yeah.
that. So I think
Well,
he was getting rid of it.
there's a why not or something runs an open or whatever, the way he runs it pretty regularly there. Like Wascom is there and I think Lusenberg or
Lusenberg, yeah, Jake
yeah,
Lusenberg. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean
So
that could be
I
one
can't
too. I
remember
mean,
what track that is, but there's a track where he was running it. But nonetheless, so I mean it could be any of the sanctions. Can
yeah, and
run it.
then
I don't know. I'd love to see some WISSOTA guys go down there. Like, I don't know. Maybe years past they couldn't hang or didn't think they could hang, but we had some, we had some open shows up here this late in the season. And Landon Atkinson kind of waxed them and won a big 10K race there against some of the USMTS guys. So I don't
this
think
is
there's
a
any
good.
doubt we can run.
I was gonna say is once you have like the early shows and like these long, like kind of open mod programs, right, where you can kind of run anything and they kind of have a rule set where you kind of just run your rule set. Um, but I feel like eventually somebody figures out the best package as the years go by. And I know they had that out in Vegas where they had the open kind of rule set and everything like that. And I remember before that they were talking about which package they should bring. And I think a lot of the guys ended up getting an IMCA package because it was so slick out in Vegas. So I'm sure somebody figured it out, and then maybe some guys don't want to come down to run it because their cars just don't, adapt to that rule set as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if there was any argument to be had this year, you'd have to say it was USMTS/USRA. You know, Dillard and Chisholm picked up both the big checks pretty convincingly. I think the top five was generally littered with their cohorts. So, um,
Yeah,
you
but yeah,
I mean,
mentioned
no,
Vegas. They also run this weekend. Their big duel in the desert. They have 7,777 to win. Um, and they usually get around 100 mods. They had 94 last year. But I'm not sure how many will go this year, given recent events. But last year, Austin Cool won, Ricky Alvarado second, and Jeff Taylor third. But they'll still probably get plenty of the Nevada, Colorado, that area guys. It's just the mid. I don't know who from Midwest will show up. That's the big question there. But
Yeah, we
they'll
were
probably
looking
get
at
plenty
the
of cars.
and before the show, we were talking about and sitting there and looking at the entry list for last year. We were surprised how few cars from the Midwest actually went out to Vegas. In years past, you had everyone from the Midwest that really got to Vegas, and we were kind of shocked that so few. I think that was like maybe Cool Sarneski, some
Cole,
drivers from
Ethan Braxma from Iowa, but
yeah,
I think there was two Iowa drivers, and I mean obviously Iowa is littered with IMCA mods, and they travel all over the
Mhm.
place, and they were
and,
nowhere to be seen last year.
yeah, and that's not to say the guys on the West Coast are slouches at all. There's a lot of good names that we were going down this that might be there too. Drivers like Cody Laney. He's more based in the Midwest now, but he's a Western, driver at heart. Colin Hibden. Yeah, he's now in North Dakota, but I mean he's from Nevada originally. He's going to be a really good shout to win that. Troy Morris out from California. Colin Weinbarger up in Oregon, who runs a late model, usually down at the Wild West Shootout, coming up on Flow early January. And then you have the Jaeger brothers, Braxton and Bryson, coming down from Wyoming, and they're usually pretty strong runners. I know they at least maybe a win or at least a top five or something at Vegas recently within the past couple of years. So, I mean, it's still going to be a pretty good field. How many? I mean, do we think they're going to get 100 cars again for it? It's
Um,
one of the only shows in town, but
yeah, probably
Long drive.
I'd say like 80, maybe 80,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I think it's going to be at least a good show for who gets there, and the West Coast guys will get on a show too. And I think there's also just like a weekly regular race down at Central Arizona of some sort. So some of the Arizona guys might stay there and run stock cars or something like that. We'll have to see what happens there. I believe Chaz Baca is actually going to be running Central Arizona, and now it's a guy that maybe you would see
Hmm.
run Vegas or even Springfield. I mean, he's a national champion in IMCA modified. So
back to back.
Yeah. Back to
Speaking, you
back.
mentioned Hibden. He won the sport mod portion last year. Because it's not IMCA sanctioned, so the rules don't apply on whether a mod guy can run a sport mod or not. So, and I'm sure there'll be a couple other guys that might do that crossover this weekend. But yeah, I think they'll be all right for the weekend.
yeah, I mean, if
Um,
you're a
Yeah.
it'll be a good show. So
so do you want to go to our one for the road segment, or do you guys got anything else to say on Vegas? Josh, you got anything on Vegas? Big IMCA guy?
Huge. I mean, I'm a Benji lacrosse fan, so obviously I'm a true blue IMCA fan. I know everything about it. Um, no, I being real, I suspect the car count will be down as compared to previous years. Um, I hope for everyone working their butt out and everyone spending the money to go out there that it's a good show. So I think that's the long and short of what we want to say about all the
and
other things going around it. So
and I haven't really mentioned that I was a Vegas resident for about 8 years or so. So I mean, and for the fans out there, there's not a lot of dirt racing within reach. You have Mojave Valley down in Arizona. It's about a little less than 2 hours. But then you have with the closure of the track up in Pahrump, Vegas, the dirt track. That's the only other show in town unless you drive all the way out to California. So I mean, for the dirt fans of Vegas, I hope it's a good show. And there's a lot of racers from Vegas. Obviously, the Busch brothers, NASCAR is the most notable, but there's a lot of people coming up through the pipeline that are from the Vegas area. So for the fans' sake, I hope it's a good show.
for sure,
All
for
right.
sure. So
So we can start with the one for the road segment, and I don't know, Julian, you want to explain what this is so they're not confused why we're just saying random things here?
Yeah, so basically, our one for the road segment, we're just something in the racing world that we want to plug. Maybe a driver that had a great performance, maybe just a track that you should know about, or a food at a track. It could be anything racing related, and we want you to know about it. And we think it's important that you should know about it. Since I'm rambling on about it, I'll just kind of drop mine here real quick. Speaking of Northeast Modifieds, and you guys are going to hate me for this one, BAPS Motor Speedway up in Pennsylvania has a race this weekend. They have 410 sprint cars on the card, but they also have 358 modifieds. which they only ran there once this year. I don't know if maybe a couple got rained down. I think they had 3 or 4 shows last year. But Billy Pouch Jr. won the race back in April, and then this weekend they're going to be running, and he's going to be actually in attendance too. So I think they got probably expecting maybe about 20, 25 cars. So I think that should be a good show. So if you're in the area, check that out. I don't know if they're still running it, but I think they have like half price tickets. They were posting about on their Facebook page. So check out their social media and check out that race. Another chance to see 410 sprint cars and modifieds this weekend before the winter rolls in. And then Carter, what would you like to plug?
Yeah, so Dallin Murdy, who's primarily known as a stock car guy, but has the last few years has been running mods a good amount. So he mainly runs in Iowa, obviously, but he's been spending the off season in the Mississippi area, kind of where you are, Julian, at Southern Raceway and Tri County. He was at last weekend, and he picked up a win in the street stock a couple weeks ago at Southern Raceway. And I just found it interesting that he's down there. That's usually you don't see an Iowa guy running down there too often. And while I was looking at that, I didn't even somehow I missed this. He won an 8,000 to win street stock show at Why Not in the middle of September. And I think it was 16th to first. I think he went. So that's pretty good for IMCA guy going down there and beating up on the what are they Cruza street stocks? I think they are down there.
It might
It sounds right.
it might also be an open show because I know that's a real prestigious
Yeah, I
show
know
in there. I've never been up
Spence
to Why Not, but I know it's a big race that
Spencer
win that street stock.
Hughes Spencer Hughes was in a street stock for that race too. I didn't look too hard at the entry list, but I know Hughes was there, so he's a big late model guy. Josh, you got your one for the road?
Yeah, I think this is a little bit late, but I think it still makes me laugh every time I think about it. So I think I'll go ahead and give a shout out to Gene Sabraski, the modified and super stock king of WISSOTA. I'm gonna give him a shout out for winning rookie of the year in a late model. It just seems I've seen that guy win so many races. I mean, so many races. It's crazy to think he's a rookie in anything. But he fit the rules and that's pretty awesome.
Hey, not only rookie of the year, but he did it while having a heart attack and then I
Yeah,
believe a torn shoulder or something like that.
I
And so
believe
I
so.
mean, he won like 8 races the weekend he had a heart attack. So I mean,
Yeah, he won a
Shane
bunch in a
Sabraski
row that
definitely
week.
Yeah, yeah,
he definitely
yeah,
deserves. If anybody deserves a shout out at the end of the show, it's definitely Shane Sabraski for that
yeah.
performance this
I
year.
mean, I mean, before winning races, while I believe actively having a heart attack, I don't want to. I mean, the Facebook post read that way that like he wasn't feeling well when he went out on Friday and still won a bunch of races. Um, but uh, like he was the Iron Man before that.
Solidifies it.
Like if ever there was a nickname that just fit, that one definitely fit. So,
He
but
he
yeah,
won he won a few like really big shows in his rookie year in the late model too, right? He won something at ABC Raceway, that Northern Storm thing. I don't remember how much it paid, but it was a good amount of money.
it was
Was it
15K maybe. It
15
was
or
quite a
maybe
bit.
20? Yeah. And then he won
Could have been.
I think he won the Challenge Series race at I-94 like the first day of the WISSOTA 100, the last one. I think that paid a good amount too if I remember
I
right. I
think
think he
so.
won that. Um
Yeah, I mean, and he, I mean, on top of all of that, he picked up a 10K mod win, at least one that you and
yeah.
I were both at. You were working that one, I was there. Um, but yeah, I mean, he won that on I believe a last lap pass of
Yes.
Brandon Cup.
And he
Yeah,
started 17th or he had to run a B main and then he
yeah, he
came
came out of the B main.
because when you're working it, which I was, you don't really like realize like you watch the racing, but you're like, you know what I mean? You're not really watching it when you're working it. You're
Yeah,
following it through a camera. And I was in infield, so I could only see one corner. And all of a
Yeah,
sudden the race is done. And I see that the slider. I'm like, oh, that was pretty awesome. And then I get back to the hotel, and I'm like, holy crap, he started way back there. Like I completely forgot that he started all the way back there and then won on a last lap pass, nonetheless.
yeah. Yeah. Whereas I kind of had the exact opposite. I mean, I was there with Sherry, and she loves her some Shane Zabrowski. So basically, every time he's making a pass, I'm getting real time updates regardless of what I'm watching. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. So, um, but yeah, I think that'll be my one for the road.
was a good one.
Yeah.
Um,
So, well, what? Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was to say if
I was
anyone
gonna
has
say,
anything else to say, they
yeah,
can. But if not,
yeah,
think we'll hand it off to you, Josh, for the closing time.
for sure. Well, with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up our first annual uh no, I'm kidding. It is our inaugural Dirt Info podcast. I think it went pretty well. I think we definitely would all agree there's some things we're gonna go ahead and work on, and we enjoy growing right alongside everyone else. So our goal is to do this weekly. Um, as racing season gets full throat, that may change, but we will cross that bridge when we get to it. As of now, the plan is weekly, and we look forward to having you all join us again next week. Thanks for stopping in.